morning, good afternoon, good evening, and welcome along to episode 93 of the Sofa Manager Scottish Football Podcast. And on this week's show, we have a smorgasbord of topics. John has kindly put together a PowerPoint of some of the new kits that have come out from the Scottish team so far, so we'll be going through that and analysing the good, the bad and the ugly. Thoroughly recommended you go for the video podcast on YouTube this week, but we'll also describe it in detail for our audio listeners as well. We are also going to be looking at Pat Nevin's recent autobiography. Paul, myself, read that over the holidays, so I'll be giving that a review. John, also being in London, will be reviewing the Euro 2020 experience and our thoughts on the last 16. And as well as that, we'll be covering Billy Gilmours' recent transfer and some of Stephen O'Donnell's comments this week, as well as a smattering of other topics around Scottish football. Anyway, joining me as host this week is the man who's out of the town, spotting different football shorts in the gym, whatever you're into. It is John Brown. Hello, John.
Hello, Paul. How are we?
I'm good. It's exciting to hear you're in the gym. Actually, your Instagram story the other day was quite funny. Would you like to tell listeners when that was taken?
Well, I decided to go to the gym for the kind of first half of the England-Ukraine game. It was Saturday night. Nice and quiet, funnily enough.
Oh, that you got access to all the machines you wanted. And it was a great screen on the treadmill, not going to lie.
I know, I just sat on the bike and watched the first half. It was a kind of good way to kind of get rid of that all kind of negative energy after Harry Kane scores after 4 minutes. I just pedal harder.
I'm pretty sure the cadence would have increased after those few. And myself, resident PSG fan and Fly Emirates shirt collector, Paul Menzies. That's not true. I don't buy Arsenal shirts, or... You got a Fly Everett shirt recently. You got a Benfica one, didn't you?
I've got a few now. I've got Benfica, AC Milan, I've got a few for them, and Real Madrid, I think, as well.
The whole feature to be had. Anyway, this podcast is in no way endorsed. We're sponsored by said flight merchants. Anyway, let's get straight on with things, shall we? Great. Where do we want to start? Euro 2020, a good place to start.
I'll get out the road pretty quick.
I watched the first 3 minutes of the England game and gave up.
I turned off after 4, so you're done better than you.
Yeah, so they absolutely smashed Ukraine, obviously. And the first goal was one of the easiest goals I've just ever seen scored in my life. And Ukraine just were terrible, which sucks. Did you actually watch the previous round against Sweden at all?
I've watched the vast majority of games. Oddly enough, that's one I kind of missed.
Did you see the VAR decision in that?
I did. I know. Audio listeners of Paul's just screaming blue murder into the into the void of silence. Like,
shocking decision.
The thing is, broadly speaking, the officiating's been really quite good over the tournament. But VAR, again, just kind of comes into it every now and again. It was the same with the penalty shootout with Spain and Switzerland. Every time there was a penalty, there was that kind of moment of hesitation to say, was he really off his line? Was he not? Because VAR's obviously checking it in the background. So you lose a little bit in that kind of moment. But overall, I think it's been absolutely fine.
Yeah, the Sweden decision bugged me because he got the ball... And these sort of things happen. The other bad one was, have you seen the clip of it? Is it Ciro Immobile who was down, diving about, rolling on the ground?
Yeah, for Italy's first goal.
And then
absolutely shocking.
Jumps up. We'll come back to that later. Pat Nevin has some interesting comments in his book about such play. That really bugs me. I do think they need to start being much firmer now with booking that sort of behaviour. And even if you're approaching the referee making all these angry, just start booking folk and even second yellow and red carding folk for it, because it's getting on everyone's nerves really, and no one is supporting and endorsing of it. Anyway, so this tournament winds me up because I honestly think this is the weakest tournament there has been in quite some time.
It's not worked out the way I think UEFA wanted it to work out. in that you now have loads of nations participating, travelling all over Europe and Asia for nothing because there's no fans there. So there's no purpose to the bringing all these different countries together. They should have just said, well, we'll just have it in England, or we'll just have it in Germany, who are actually hosting the next one.
Well, I mean, it's worked out pretty well for the English. Let's not lie.
Because they've had the vast majority of their home games, apart from obviously just on Saturday there, at home at Wembley with a very partisan crowd. And you can say the same for Denmark. All 3 home games were in Copenhagen. That again, I helped in the last game for sure. And again, Italy, most of their games have been in Rome. So there's been a kind of weird imbalance, I think, throughout the tournament. And likewise for travelling, it's just been outrageous. So I don't think we want to remember particularly if they win it, and in which case it's just this year never happened. Like honestly, I'll that's it. I'm packing my bags and coming up if they win it.
Well, at the end of the day, it's not a World Cup. Just saying it is Euros, and it is long overdue for a footballing nation like that. Again, this to me is not. I think of the England squad that went to the World Cup in 2006, for example. Lampard, Gerrard, Rooney, Terry, just that. That squad to me was just a level above what they currently have. I think there are good guys in the team, but they're not there yet.
I don't think we've kind of been. Well, maybe I've been disrespectful. England haven't played a big nation yet in this tournament. Because Croatia were, no, even then, that Germany squad is nowhere near the level it was even sort of at the World Cup. In fact, they weren't even at the World Cup. I don't think. Yeah, they really haven't played a nation who's actually doing really well. They haven't played a France, they haven't played a Spain, they haven't played Portugal. They haven't played Italy, which they probably will meet in the final.
Well, the problem is
tested that defence.
The problem is, I actually think you can poke holes in, Spain. You can poke holes in Portugal. You certainly could poke holes in France. Kylian Mbappe, you're no longer the best player in the world, in my opinion, by the way. Not having the mettle to slide away that final penalty, or indeed another 3 chances. He's a glorified Darren Mackey, actually, John.
You want to know why he never scored a single goal in this tournament?
He's a chicken. No, why?
No, I had him as golden ball winner.
Nice. Can always rely on John's gambling to put a player down.
Absolutely, screw you over, no doubt.
No. It seems that Italy are probably our best hope for finalists. I actually think Denmark have been playing really, really well, though. As you say, I don't know whether the Eriksson thing has given them a massive boost, but that Dolberg guy, is it Dolberg?
Yeah, Kasper Dolberg. He looks an absolutely unbelievable player.
Sensational. So, again, I don't think we had actually seen England play that well. I thought Germany were honking against them the other week.
Germany were really, really poor, but they still had chances. Honestly, if you go at that England defence, there's goals to be had against them. You've seen that even against Ukraine, and Ukraine were finding gaps between kind of Kyle Walker and John Stones, that kind of right-sided defence. A better team. If you watched Italy play against Belgium and the style of play and the intricacy in the kind of final third, honestly, they would tear England apart in that kind of area. That's if they go for it. It's a different mentality when you're playing a big team versus big team. So, in my opinion, it's England's to lose.
It is. But huge advantage being at Wembley the whole way. And then Italy are missing, I think, Spinazzola now, and you wonder, it'll be interesting to see, because bookings and things will start to come into this, with who's able to play in some of these later fixtures.
Yep.
So we'll see how they do against Denmark. Italy are playing
Spain. Tuesday night.
Could have essentially be the final, so to speak. And again, Italy, group stages, everyone had them all conquering, and it took them extra time against Switzerland? No, not Switzerland. Poland. Was it Poland?
I'm sure it was Poland.
So, yeah, all to play for. I was really hoping that Ukraine were going to put them out, because again, there was some chat going around on Twitter with it was like the graphic that was on BBC News of who England would play in the next round and then the final. So it was like England, Czech Republic, Denmark, and then who they'd played the final. And of course, it wasn't England or Ukraine; it was just England. So people were tweeting that, remind me of this at 11 o'clock GMT, which sadly Didn't come back to bite them, but we always keep our fingers crossed. It's incredibly hard in tournament football. Do they have the mentality? No, because I think, again, a lot of people were pretty disappointed with the first half performance after they scored, and it was quite pedestrian. And Kane's just not looking up to it.
He's not 100% there. Like he's had a few goals. I mean, I don't know if you've seen the other 3 goals in that game, but it was like the parting of the waves for the kind of defending. 2 kind of crosses in particular, the free headers. Harry Maguire's in particular was an embarrassment for Ukraine at the back. Really horrendous sort of marking in the box. The same with kind of Harry Kane's as well. So I don't think you can take a huge amount away from the game. Yes, England dominated, no questions about it. But you have to look at who they were playing. Wasn't all that much. Denmark will give them a far harder game. It just depends if Denmark can handle the situation and handle the atmosphere in much the same way can England handle it. I'm not sure. That this is now their test. Like England have now got to the stage they expect to be at. Can they handle that expectation now?
That's the thing. The further forward you get, the more confident you get, the more experience these guys get. But yeah, I don't think at any point they've had to be on the front foot. As you say, the waves just parted open. Ukraine just wanted them to score.
They've never had to chase a game. They've never been tested to a large extent. So these are 2 big things that are yet to kind of come into it. I mean,
we tested them.
I think we're the only nation they haven't scored against.
But they were feared of the Scots, John. They were feared of the Scots.
If Denmark have anything to learn, just need to watch Stevie Clarke's tactics, and you're good to go because you've got a better attack than us.
So, if you had to pick a winner right now, who do you go for of the whole tournament?
Out of the 4, I mean, I'm still with Italy. I think I just like them so much. Like
I'm gonna go.
They're our biggest hope. To quote Star Wars.
I'm gonna go with Spain just because I think there's surprises along the way here.
If Spain get to the final, you'd be handing England the trophy.
I don't know. That's the thing about Spain is because nobody expects anything from them. They're coming from that good position of being the sort of sneaky underdogs that no one really rates. So I think it's an interesting position for them to be. We shall see. Speaking of international midfielders, it was announced this week that Billy Gilmour has a big move on loan to Norwich City. Did you see this news pop up in the last couple of days?
Indeed. I'm actually tempted to put Grant Hanley to get more than 10 goals this season. All the kind of crosses for Billy Gilmour, all the kind of corners. Brilliant.
But I don't know. I think this is an interesting move, and I actually think this is quite a risky move for him to take in his development because for a start, did you see the news of his mum refused to touch the green part of the Norwich scarf?
That is the pettiest thing I've ever seen.
Get a grip! Get a grip!
Just as long as it's not the scarf. Like.
Well, that too. That to me is just utterly mental, utterly bizarre. But it made a lot of people very happy. So, can't wait to see him a Celtic top when his career nosedives.
Just to clarify, this is not a Celtic top if you're just joining it, it's a Chapecoense top.
Can I just say, see when you sat down and like the Umbro is quite reminiscent of like an old...
It looks like an old retro top. I was kind of like, do I wear it or not?
It does a bit. Anyway, so what was I saying? I did a bit of research on Billy Gilmour because everyone lauded him as the next saviour of Scotland after that England game. I personally didn't see it and personally thought that Mason Mount was actually slightly better than in that game. So, I was looking up the stats because Chelsea are known obviously for going through loan players like there's no tomorrow and sending these guys out 10, 11 times and they never really feature in the squad and they leave at like 27, 28 when their career's done. It's not been so bad in recent history, but I was thinking about, who are the only people that have really got in the team from loan moves? And the people that stuck out to me were Mason Mount and Tammy Abraham in recent history.
Yeah, you wouldn't be far away. I don't know if Reece James ever went on loan or if he was just introduced into the squad. There was a few you kind of thought might have kind of made it and just never really kind of got there. The guy's name's went completely out of my head. He's a kind of centre midfielder. Oh, it'll come back to me. I remember watching him. I actually went to see Chelsea play Nottingham Forest in the FA Cup when you were allowed back in a stadium. And at that kind of time, they were playing kind of like fringe players. So I'm sure Morata played as well.
All right.
He may have been at Chelsea at the time. It was bizarre, but there was a few kind of fringe players you thought might have kind of made it. And you're right, they either let them go and then buy them back for significantly more money than what they could have maybe like kind of just kept a hold of them for. So it'll be interesting to kind of see what kind of works for Billy. It's like you say, it is a risky move, particularly going to Norwich, they won't have a good season. Like
No. And for the type of player he is, he needs a lot of passes in. He needs a lot of attacking options because I think he's got the passing range. He does have that ability, but
yeah.
whether Norwich play that way. But I was looking up the stats of like Mount and Abraham, and both of them did incredibly well at championship teams, to be fair. I think like Mount had like 16 goals for Derby. Abraham scored for fun. Like, see, Aston Villa had like 27 goals and like 35 appearances. And I'm thinking to myself, right, that's the bar for you to try and get in this team. And if he achieves that, brilliant. But I was also reading up, like, how many times has Billy Gilmour actually played in his entire professional career?
Like 12 times.
Well, for Celtic, it's like 11, 12. I think total, including cups appearances and things, he's played like 22 competitive games. 3 of those are like full internationals, by the way.
Jeez.
And there's an interesting bit in his Wikipedia profile when the Chelsea offer came in, and Malky Mackay, the thinking man that he is, said to his parents not to take the Chelsea offer, stick at Rangers, you'll get more first team football. And I don't think he was wrong in saying that. And apparently Rangers did want to take him on loan as well. And a lot of people said under Gerrard, that maybe wouldn't have been such a bad thing either.
I think he had a few options. Yeah. Certainly Rangers was one of them. And if Rangers do get to the Champions League, provided, let's say, for example, Billy Gilmour did go to Rangers get into the Champions League group stages, that's unbelievable sort of exposure and experience for Billy Gilmour.
Mm-hmm.
I'm fairly confident Leeds were in for him as well.
Right.
Which, that would be my number one choice to watch Billy Gilmour develop under Marco Bielsa in that Leeds team would just be phenomenal. I think he would have fitted absolutely perfectly into that team just for the sort of style of play, the speed and intensity and the kind of passing. That would have been absolutely brilliant to see. And same again, if he'd stayed at Chelsea and tried to fight for his place, I mean, there's talk of him being the kind of long-term replacement for Jorginho. And same again, he's got N'Golo Kante to kind of like work off as well. I think that's where he gets the kind of work rate kind of from. So he's obviously learning from those guys. I don't know who he's going to get that kind of thing off at Norwich. He's going to get first team experience, but who's he going to sort of learn and develop off? Because it's like Kenny McLean is there, like kind of start midfielder. There's a slightly kind of different kind of ambition level in there. So I don't know what's going to happen. It's a strange move, and I think we're all just kind of really worried that it doesn't work out, and then that's just a regressed player. But it's one to kind of watch, and but I think we'll all take a serious interest in it.
Yeah, I do think it's make or break, and I'm glad he is getting out there and getting some more first team football. I think it would have been great if he got this like early. So Joe, I'll cut to the Pat Nevin chat just now.
Yeah, fair enough.
But do you know where? Okay, you're familiar with Pat Nevin, footballer, yes. Chelsea all these years, now pundit for 5 Live mainly. Guttingly not enough on Scottish television.
Yeah, it's a shame.
So read his autobiography. Do you know where he got started in his professional footballing career?
He spent some time at Motherwell, but I'm not too sure if that's where he started.
So that was the end of his career. He started at Clyde in what was then, I think they won the second division or something like that.
Second division.
Yeah, I got a bit confused because it was all a bit different back then.
Aye, that would have been the equivalent of the Championship.
Aye.
It would have been bigger leagues back then as well.
But this is going to be a roundabout point, because in terms of review of the book, it is fantastic. If you are a football fan who, has an appreciation for the game, but was never really a good player yourself, I think you'll find a lot to relate about this, because he's not your atypical footballer, and kind of thinks that he comes at things from a very different perspective. For example, when he started playing his professional career, he had offers from loads of interesting teams to come and train. He had a trial at like Leeds and stuff, who were very good at the time. But it was like, nah, I'm quite enjoying my university course. It was some sort of business degree, funny enough. So he was doing that at what then became Glasgow Cali. And then someone came up to him one day because his junior team he was playing for were just dominating, like even like reserve matches they were playing as bounce games against the professionals. They were smashing that. So Clyde manager at the time was Craig Brown, of all people.
All right.
Who was himself a university lecturer. So he went up to Pat and said, like, do you want to play for us? I was like, nah, I'm quite enjoying my uni course, so I'm just going to stick with that. He was like, well, that doesn't pay very well. How about if I just give you like 80 quid a game, extra money in your pocket, we train one night a week, play the game on the Saturday, job's a good one. And I was like, aye, all right. I'll start playing for you. But he got heaps of game time at Clyde. He was, it took him a few months to make his way into the team, but he played 30, 40 games in the first 2 seasons of his career. And I think, even see like Kenny McLean at St Mirren and Aberdeen, loads of games into his teens. John McGinn played, again, a lot in his late teens. And at the end of the day, it counts. This is experience, and especially these top talents seem to be incubated far too much these days.
I've looked at one they've gone through like the school of hard knocks. I mean, I don't think anyone. I think Andy Robertson's probably the best example we have in that current Scotland like setup. To see you've went through amateur football to Dun United for a season, which would have been absolute just balls to the wall of that team, because there's some characters in that as well. So,
but they were at the time the perfect mix of youth and experience, and they were a fantastic team. It's such a shame all that kind of fell apart,
and so quickly as well. Even if that had taken like another season, it'd be interesting to see what that would have developed into. But nevertheless, he gets his move down to England, he cuts his teeth in the Championship, and then he progresses up into the Premiership, and he's probably one of the best left backs in the world. So you are right, there's a lot to be said about having sort of first team experience and getting game time in the kind of professional setup, rather than kind of farting about in the under 23s in the English Premier League, which is nothing to kick about. Like
reserve games and that does nothing for you. That's my only trepidation about Billy Gilmour, is I just don't think he's got enough first team games. And if you have a bad season, you're pretty much done when you're that age of the game, aren't you? Derek McInnes also wanted to take him at loan in Aberdeen. I think was politely told no.
Ambitious.
Yes, so that didn't quite pan out a season ago. So we'll see how he gets on up there. Shall I give you the rest of my thoughts on the book while I'm here?
Yeah, why not? So
Pat Nevin, right? Accidental Footballer is the title. Signed for the man himself. Now, I don't know if you can see that, John. Would you have identified that as Pat Nevin's signature?
Nah, I'm not going to tell you what I think it looks like. But...
Well, who knows? We won't authenticate that here and now. But that was interesting. But no, a fantastic book. Kind of covers mainly his footballing times. He grew up a big Celtic fan, being Patrick, going to the Catholic school and things like that. He was saying actually he played in a really cool penalty competition, and he got all the way to the final. So he got to take penalties at Celtic Park as a schoolboy and a Scottish Cup final. I think Celtic were playing Airdrie at the time.
God, that would going far back.
Well, it was. I think this was maybe the early 70s. But in the cup final, it was him and this other lad, and of course, like Patrick from Our Fair Ladies RC primary school, got a fair amount of cheering, and the other guy who went to the non-denominational primary school got a fair amount of booing. And I was like, for like some school kids, that's absolutely nuts. But yeah, it is such an interesting read in that everything you know about modern football, this is essentially the total opposite. Like, there's a lot of great stories about like real hard men, like playing against Terry Butcher and stuff like that. He always said that I think Stuart Pearce, he was proper scary because he was just a nutter.
Still is.
Well, that's the thing. But aside from the football and stuff, which again is really interesting, because he played for Chelsea in a time where Chelsea weren't the Chelsea we know today. And then he went to play for Everton, who were nearly a superpower. He talks a bit about Duncan Ferguson as well. Duncan Ferguson's hilarious. He just has no filter at all. I won't spoil many of the stories, but the main thing about it as well is he's super into his music. We've spoken before about he does a bit of DJing and stuff on the side.
Yeah.
And his one of his Chelsea contracts was basically, I'm only going to play the first 45 minutes of this friendly so I can get away to like a New Order concert in the second half of the tournament. I was like,
right,
this guy's crazy. I think you'd appreciate it because he talks a lot about like living in London and stuff, and the people he bumps into is insane. Like he was talking about a Scottish comedian, I think, who was controversially known at the time as Adolf. Something or other was his stage name. It wasn't really working out for him here, so he went abroad. That was Craig Ferguson. You know who did like late?
Yeah, these late show out in the US.
So he knew him.
The least Scottish man of all time when you listen to him.
He is quite Scottish. No, he does sound Scottish. I would disagree with that. What? I think he sounds Scottish.
Scottish is Sean Connery. Like.
I don't know, but he knew him, which was really cool. And then like Radio 1 DJs he was in with. And he went and met Morrissey and stuff like that when he lived in Liverpool.
The hellfire.
So he lived this double life and had all these, you know, incredibly famous people, friends who just happened to gravitate towards. But no, he has a very unique perspective on the game. One that I don't think exists now. Like he played probably more beautiful football at the time, which is the football we kind of try to play now, the more technical, less physical side of the game. But yeah, really good book. Thoroughly recommend. Especially if you have any interest in alternative 1980s music. He's really into all that. So my dad's albums and things, I kind of recognise most of the bands who are very like random, Simple Minds and stuff like that. But he touches on more serious issues as well, like because he came through like the Celtic Boys Club and things like that. Accusations and things have kind of since come from them, convictions and things like that. So he's quite honest about that. But as well, his dad came to every game he played and everything like that, and you know, just the way they were brought up, like primary school football was like the biggest deal ever.
Yeah, that's the thing that always gets me. Like when you read, like you speak to these kind of sort of players from a certain generation, like obviously Pat Nevin and maybe into the 80s and probably the 90s as well. Like school football was just a massive, massive thing. Like when we were at school, there was just it was irrelevant. There was absolutely nothing. There was no leagues. There was no games at all. It was. I don't know if it all kind of stopped. Like,
well, this brings like the thing is like what he was saying. Like these primary school teachers and stuff like that would give up their nights for training, and then they'd give up their Saturdays for the game and stuff like that as well. Now, obviously, because of things that have come to light and stuff recently, you kind of have a better perspective on this. However, there's no doubt that bred some fantastic footballers. And
yeah, it's just you get that kind of natural talent. It just appears out of the schools rather than like forcing them to training on a Tuesday night. Like,
but that's the thing. The school structure works well in that you keep these guys local, so you know they're not going to have to out, you know, to train somewhere random. And they used to have really good systems as well, which still kind of goes on. But you would play for like the regional team if you did really well. So, like, you know, in Falkirk, you'd play for the Falkirk team. In West Lothian, you'd play for the West Lothian team. And it's a sort of like mini international setup, if that makes sense, on like a regional level.
You would have your kind of council districts play each other in a kind of league or a tournament. It's a shame that doesn't exist. I mean, I think it would beat any kind of irrelevant sort of performance school. Just have a normal school with a normal league. Like,
totally. I was thinking about this today, and see these SFA performance schools and stuff like that. I think they're isolating. Like you're really it's not inclusive. You know, it's everybody.
You either look a very good football player at the age of 12, and then you are immediately like taken from the herd, and you know you're. I've been watching too much Clarkson's Farm. They just like you take them away for the herd, and you like that's you kind of keep them to themselves, and it's like you just kind of breed a very good sort of very small group of players. If none of them work out, you have an entire year group of duds, and that's we can't afford that. Why don't you just have it like why don't you just have a school system? Somebody might develop a little bit better when they're like 14, 15-year-old. And they might sort of build into a kind of better centre back, if they sort of grow taller, get sort of broader shoulders and that, versus somebody who's, he's 12, 13-year-old who's just a skinny wee boy.
But you raise a good point in that you miss out on maybe there's someone interested in swimming at like 12 or 13, but becomes a tremendous athlete, but because they weren't in the chain early enough, you're left out because.
I mean, are you going to really turn down a guy who, say he was into rugby, right? So I says to you, like when we seen like Scott McKenna. So the equivalent of Scott McKenna, who up to like the age of 14, 15, maybe he plays football a little bit on the side, but his main sport up to a certain age is rugby. And then he goes, well, Kim, what? I'm actually no bad football player. I'd look quite good as either like a defensive midfielder or as a defender. But he's too late. He can't get into these kind of performance skills anymore. You can't exactly just rock up at some kind of random Sunday league team at your age. It just doesn't work. So that guy's lost, and he could have been the next big thing. That's the sad bit about it all.
No, it would be fantastic. I mean, he does talk about in his book the reason that all stopped was the teachers eventually all went on like a work to rule and stuff like that because of, they had pay disputes and things like that, not related to the actual football side of things, but other things. And then it kind of tailed off after that. And I think that's fair as well. You can't be expected to give up your evenings and your Fridays, but that could be supported. And I think the SFA would do well to direct their attention elsewhere than, say, performance schools and things like that. Because, as well, if you're seriously channeling performance stuff like that, and I know this happens in other sports as well, like athletics and stuff will probably be much the same. Are these guys really living much of a life? Because the school we went to was an SFA performance school, yeah.
At the time it was, Graham High.
Did you ever see any of the guys that were in it in any of your classes?
Nope.
Now, that's not a life. Like, the thing about these kids going off to be football, especially young footballers, kind of probably are lacking quite a lot of maturity because they've not led a normal life up until that point.
They've not had the kind of school of hard knocks.
It's not
like scrapping in the corridor.
It's not necessarily school of hard knocks. That's not what I'm saying. You're not going to be out there getting bullied and stuff like that. But it's just the social interactions you have with other people and things like that. It's even a sort of broader education. I think especially these days. Well, a good example. Mark McGuigan, who was Stennismuir striker, he was discovered essentially at university football, which fantastically unusual actually in this day and age. I do not know many university footballers that went pro. I know there must be some, like Danny Denholm, example at East Fife, is a PE teacher, so there must have been a bit of crossover in there. But Mark played for a number of teams across Scotland, like Partick Thistle, Stennismuir. He was going to sign for East Fife, but he's patched that in to go and do his PhD.
As you do.
This year. But was a tremendous footballer throughout those years anyway. And that's the thing. I just feel like the pool in this day and age is so closed to all these other avenues that you needed to... I don't know. There's two trains of thought here. Because I think to be a brilliant footballer, you do need to live, sleep, eat, and breathe it. Like, it needs to be your be all and end all. Like, especially when you're younger.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, I think
have a balance.
You do.
You can't do one or the other. Like, you can't isolate these guys like we've kind of said and expect them to kind of become really good at footballers, because I don't know if anyone who's kind of came through those performance skills that have actually went on to become certain internationals. I know, like, for ourselves, we know that Craig Sibbald is an established Scottish Premiership player.
How did that turn out? The boy was
for Livingston.
He was too feared to go down south and like actually try and make it
Yeah,
down there.
I think he spent too much time in Falkirk when he had all the kind of technical potential, and I don't know what kind of. Well, maybe, and that's what kind of caused it. But that's the best example we can kind of see. Is like he is the only individual that we know who's done anything like to make a professional career out of football. He's the only one. I can't think of anyone else who's came out of any other academy, and I can kind of point to them and say that's an example.
Yeah. So I think what we're saying is that I would touch on the accessibility point in particular because, which what Pat Nevin actually talks in his book. One of the boys who signed for Chelsea came up to him and went, "Oh, right, Pat, you remember me?" He was like, "No." And they played for the same junior team. And this wee lad couldn't get a game. He was on the bench the whole time. And he was like, of all the people I wouldn't have expected to be a professional footballer, it was him. And you think of, when I was at school, I was not the greatest footballer. Went to the trials, would make the fringe sort of, would make the bench and stuff like that. But who knows, with the right nurturing, I could have gone on to be a tremendous professional footballer.
Are you saying if you were in a performance school and a performance environment, you could be playing for East Fife?
I tell you, anyone probably could be playing in the Scottish lower divisions with a reasonable amount of athleticism and practice and technical ability. But
a footballer, basically.
I think that the whole system needs to be looked at. I think schools is an excellent way to start because currently it is a mess, and at one time it was the backbone of Scottish football development, and at that time we were excellent. We were putting out fantastic international footballers who played in all the major teams. That's kind of fallen by the wayside, and it's just a pain. Like the whole pro youth system's kind of mixed up, and then you've then got kind of junior teams before that, which is it looks expensive to me, like buying all these kits, ferrying them all the games, all these different trophies and stuff like that. And they're often run by really bitter folk as well. And all credit to them because giving up any of your amount of time to go and do that is fantastic. And you've raised the point quite often as well about the number of pitches. And the correlation to sort of footballing prowess. And well, currently in Falkirk, they're letting the grass grow in different places by the looks of things. So
yeah, they can't be bothered.
Yeah, make it more accessible. Put some money, reach out in the right places, get a structure in a place where everyone can access. Right now, that is the schools. And go from there because I don't think they're reaching enough people just now, and
it works in all directions. I mean, even if these guys don't turn out to be football players, they're still going to be football fans. They're probably still going to go through the turnstiles. I mean, me and you. I mean, I was absolutely hopeless at football. I tore my ACL trying to play five-a-side. That's how bad that was. But I'm hooked on the game, so I'm still going to go week in week out to watch a game. Literally anywhere. I mean, this Saturday I'm going to watch Welling United against Gillingham in pre-season games.
There you go.
Why? We like the game. It's an easy way to get these kids kind of hooked on the game as well as playing it. You pick up an interest in the sport in general, and you just see where it goes. There we go. We've solved it. We Nick gives a call.
Well,
we're available.
I was about to say
the pandemic.
I feel like we're kind of shouting into an echo chamber. That, yeah, buddy, it's a brilliant idea. Yeah, fantastic. High five. We've solved the whole problem. And a lot of people will be sitting right now who've played a lot more football than us over all those different levels who will have vastly different opinions. So if you have another solution or you think this is the wrong solution, politely leave a comment below and we can have an academic discussion as to the way forward. This is just a suggestion. It is not gospel by any way, shape or form. But no, interesting chat. Accidental Footballer, thoroughly recommend. Maybe not the signed copy. I'm sure there's audiobook versions and stuff as well. So go for it. Speaking of your interest in football, we have wonderful, delightful kits that are coming out across Scotland. You've got your Chapecoense, I've got my Paris Saint-Germain, so we haven't gone very local for our kit choices this evening. But I believe, John, you have aggregated some of the kits that have been released thus far in a little slideshow presentation for us to look through and comment on. So I will leave you to take it from here.
Indeed. Yeah, I mean, I've spent like the last kind of couple of days going through like every single team in the Scottish leagues to see who's actually released their kits. Some have, some haven't. So I think what we'll do over the next kind of couple of episodes, we'll kind of drip feed them through. So I've picked 2 from the Premiership, 2 from the Championship, and 2 from League One, because League Two somehow have released nothing. Like there's either very little information on the new kit, or I just can't find it. Either way, not great. So I'll kind of pull them through over the next kind of couple of weeks, and we can decide whether we would buy it. So yep, 100% we'll pay the full RRP, or we'll think about maybe sort of buying it in the sales, or it can get in the bin. We don't like it, then it can get to. So that's the kind of we'll aim for those kind of 3 kind of tiers, and we'll see how this goes, and we'll see if I don't crash Zoom trying to share my screen, which is.
Okay, whilst John tries to share the screen, I'll mutter away, because I know when I tried to do this the other week, there was like radio silence.
Oh, is that showing on your screen?
It is showing on my screen.
There we go. There we go. I'm pressing with my laptop here. Like,
do you want to describe what is in front of us for our audio listeners?
We have in front of us, dear audio listeners. We've got the Dundee home and away kit. Home kit is actually quite nice. I quite like the template. It's a kind of navy blue with a kind of, I don't know what you call that kind of.
It's like bricks-ish.
Yeah, it's an interesting kind of pattern. You might see it on some kind of corrugated metal on the floor. Not as bad as the Falkirk one last season, if you remember that.
It's more square, yeah.
Yeah. It's quite nice, and it's got kind of light blue and white kind of trim on the collar and sleeves, and then kind of bright blue sponsor and badge, which I think really makes it kind of pop. You know, not to sound. I should work in marketing, man. It's absolutely fantastic. I would buy that. Yeah.
Yeah, the away kit as well is very similar, but it's the baby blue accent colour that the home kit has.
Yeah, it's kind of the inverse of it. But both are cracking. They're actually like really, really nice kits.
I would have an almighty trouble picking between them if I was a Dundee fan. This is probably one of the ones I brought up to the shop and buying them both. Like I really like. So these are what Macaron
kits. Yep.
I've always kind of liked them. They've done some interesting stuff with the Hibs kits in recent times as well. Really like how the logos fit with the colour scheme as well. So a lot of teams are pretty stubborn about not changing their logo colours. Dundee have done that. I'm always a big fan of anything baby blue, so I would 100% go for the home one. But I think if you're a Dundee fan, you've got to get both of these. These are much better than last season's.
Oh, 100%. I mean, like I said, I think I'm just about taken by the away kit than the home kit. The only thing is the kind of collar of the away kit. I can't make my mind up if that's like almost a kind of polo shape, or if it's just a kind of weird kind of indent.
It's
but
like
I think it fits a little bit better.
Yeah, it almost looks like it's buttoned, but it's not. So it's whereas the home kit's very traditional, it's just been sort of round neck.
Typical kind of collar on that. So that's kind of Dundee. So we're saying, a job well done there. That's actually not bad.
They nailed that, unfortunately. Shall we go across town now?
Yeah, we'll go across town too, if I can get to work.
I've not seen these yet. Dundee United is what we're going to be looking at.
Charlie Mulgrew. Oh, there you go.
Right. Okay. Obviously, Charlie Mulgrew, I hate with a burning passion. Always have, always will. I have to concede he's quite a stylish man. So what we're currently looking at, Dundee United home and away kit. Home kit is orange with like black streaks that get bolder and bolder, which is kind of a gradient across the way. And then the away kit is like a paint splattered, it's white with paint sort of splatterings of orange. But again, it's Macaron as well, isn't it?
Yeah, they've done an absolutely stellar job on this. They're almost like unique designs. Well, they are unique designs rather than just working with templates. I think, again, I would probably go for the away kit over the home kit.
See,
but it's tough. That's a tough one.
Orange, again, big fan of orange. Black collar, pretty good. Eden Mill have some marketing budget, by the way. Like, or no, I'm thinking of the gin place. Oh no, wait.
No,
Okay.
Hedden. I said Gin.
Well, anyway, you see Eden Mill on heaps of things. Yeah, I am. I'm kind of. It depends on what occasion, because I think
All right.
you
So if
know.
you're going to a wedding, what you wear?
I think you wear the home kit to a wedding.
So just because we've got the collar, you can wear a tie.
Yeah,
Like,
it's a wee bit fancier. The away kit looks a bit more casual. It's a bit more training toppy, I would say,
yeah, I would get that. No, I'm kind of with you there.
than
But
full
I
on
love
kit.
that. I love that design. I love the white and orange. I think that's fantastic.
So you're very much team away kit.
I am for this one.
Yeah. Yeah, because again, it kind of stops at the sleeve, which is annoying. If it kind of went full way, yeah, I'll go with you there on the home kit. I don't like these as much as the Dundee. I don't think.
Yeah, I think I would certainly the Dundee away kit. I think is one of the best this season that I've seen so far. Anyway, without giving the game away. But
If you don't have these up just now, listen to the audio. Check out the Sofa Manager Instagram page, and these will be appearing in due course.
We'll try and get some kind of indents off them without kind of breaking too much rules.
Indeed.
We'll see how far we can get. I can't remember who I've got next, so I apologise. So I broke and I had to get these were shocking. So ignore the kind of weird fuzziness. That's not actually part of the sign.
Yeah, another freaking Macron.
Masterpiece.
I was wondering if I'm saying like. See, I'm worried I get mixed up with the French president as opposed to like because you've got macaroon and then you've got is it Macron or Macron? I'm gonna look it up.
Well, Macron's the president as well. But I just call it Macron as the sponsor or the short design, I should say. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, these aren't actually that bad. I would need to see them with like someone actually wearing them to like properly make my mind up. Because I don't know by how much the kind of shiny red kind of diagonal stripes are really kind of on those kind of strips.
So it is Macron, sorry, John. I'm not going to lie, the home kit looks very similar to what it always has been for Arbroath.
Yeah, it's traditional for them. Like.
Yeah, black one's pretty much exactly the same.
They've missed a trick in the black one. If they had made the badge like black on black, like they've been doing for the Dortmund tops and the Germany top,
yeah,
I think that would have been a lot more kind of sleek than having a kind of random purple badge, just like kind of shoved on there as a kind of not quite an afterthought, but it doesn't fully set into the shop. So I don't think I'd bother buying that, and I don't know. I don't mind that kind of maroon-ish colour shirt, so I'd probably would buy that in the sales.
Oh, you big Jambo Johnny!
A little bit. Like, the green shirt that I'm wearing. Like,
I'm just looking on the Macron website just now. By the way, they've got like freaking the Italian shirts. You can buy like Hellas Verona and Bologna.
I was going to say. Yeah.
Ternana. Right, okay, that's a whole other day.
Didn't get me down that rabbit hole. Like,
no.
Days, like,
the away kit, stick it in the bin. Home kit,
it's not bad. It's not.
Put it towards. Yeah, it's just an Arbroath kit. You know, you wouldn't be surprised if they had that for 2 years, for example.
Exactly, and it could have been last year, so we just never knew.
Yeah.
The next one is Partick's home and away.
Ooh.
So this is a bit kind of. I'll straight up. I don't like the home kit because I just don't like red and yellow as a kind of colour scheme.
Right.
I've just never liked it, but I do really like that away kit.
So O'Neill's the kit manufacturer here, who I think are more known. You see them in Irish bars across the land with all the Irish university students who have brought their sort of. Do they not make all the kit for like the Irish football and hurling and
Gaelic football and all that? I think that's their kind of niche market.
Yes. So the home kit's kind of just as ever. What's that pattern they've got? They've got like a vertical yellow stripes, and then they've got these more kind of horizontal on the vertical red stripes. It's weird. Yeah, home kit's fine. Away kit is banging. Like it's
just got the right kind of level of colour for a white kit.
Yeah, you've got the sort of plain white yellow badge, which is different. It's quite cool. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And then sort of down your underarms, you've got a sort of upside down Germany, Belgium flag with the 3 stripes coming out, red, yellow, black.
It has got a kind of retro feel of a kind of, like as you kind of say, like a German or Belgian like away kit. It's got that kind of, it's got almost a 90s vibe to it. It's just really weird, but I absolutely rate it. I think it's really cool.
I agree with you, and I think it strikes a good balance in that this 90s nostalgia stuff is really annoying me at the moment, and I think some people are kind of going too hard on it, like to the point where last season we had some like real try hard kits. That this one just strikes a really nice balance. It's quite modern. They're not too over the top with the retro. It's not got all these stupid patterns or anything on it.
No.
Clean, classic. Is it better than the Dundee ones?
No.
But the only thing is, I really like the Dundee ones because of the colours.
Yeah, but I like the design as well. That's the thing. I think just everything about those kits are just absolutely on point.
If this was black, this would look really cool as well. But then you wouldn't have had the black stripe, it would have been white, which would have been as cool. Yeah. It's like in between the Dundee home and away kit, depending on which one you think is better.
You would buy it, no doubt about it, you would buy it.
I think, if you're a Partick Thistle fan, you're going into the shop this year buying the away kit, you're not buying the home kit if you've already got one.
Yeah, because I mean, that, believe it or not, is actually, I think it's the ladies' top rather than the men's, because the men's one's completely sold out and I can't find it on the website.
But I was about to say, the sponsor's actually a bit smaller on it, and it's like, it's tapered. It's like...
It's slightly different shape in certain places. But that is the way the women's sort of top of the version, but it's the same design.
Same design. Okay.
But it shows the popularity of the kit.
Yeah, that's the second and a half best kit we've seen so far, I think.
Yeah, I would agree.
Okay. What we got up next?
Clyde. It goes down pretty rapid to Clyde, I'm afraid. I think this is the ones where, like, sorry boys, this just goes in the bin. There's a story about this. The home top is, I think, just sort of designed by the club. It looks like a Falkirk top from about 2009 when they got to the Scottish Cup final, right? It's almost exactly the same design. Almost pure white and then the kind of occasional kind of red sort of cuts down the kind of bottom there. As for the away kit, believe it or not, the Clyde fans voted for this, right? A template of 5 different kits. This is the one they chose. Make of that what you will.
So red and, is that navy blue or black horizontal stripes?
I think it's black. I think it's a black and red kind of cut. It looks like an old QPR top. I have sort of pictures of Bobby Zamora scoring at Wembley when you see that kind of kit.
Oh, funny tweet I saw the other day. A name I hadn't seen in ages was someone called Mbappe, a poor man's Agbonlahor. And I was like, I've not heard that name in so long. Like, that's crazy.
He was on, I think it must have been like Soccer AM. You see these kind of occasional kind of outcuts on Facebook. Him and what's his name, Jimmy Bullard, trying to do the kind of Techers challenge. That was embarrassing. Like, just like what? He's just a completely different looking guy because he's not obviously keeping athletically fit. You know, he just doesn't look the same.
Yeah.
But we digress from what is in front of us here.
Yeah. I mean, like the home kit, I think it's pretty good for a League 2 side? League 1 side. Okay. Not that I have different standards per league. I think the home kit is fine. It suits the sponsor quite well.
Yeah.
It bugs me when the away kit, like, there's a lot of red in the home kit. The away kit is red. What colour are shorts? Are they white shorts, red shorts, black shorts?
Funnily enough, they haven't been released yet. So it could be either. I think.
If you've listened to previous podcasts, I'm a big fan of shorts. I'm going to start my own mystery shorts box in future.
No, mate.
Ooh. Well, White Moss Dental is an interesting sponsor. It appears that there's got a lot of casuals at their games who are having a lot of fisticuff fights, who perhaps need quite a lot of dental work done.
They do well in Essex.
Well, there you go. If you're a Clyde fan, which one of these do you go into the store and buy?
The home top. Yeah,
I agree with the home one. But if you voted for it...
If you vote for the away top, I think remember, the other prices must have been pretty grim.
That's the thing. Stenny did this with an away top as well, and I wouldn't have gone out and bought either of the 3 options that they were giving. So, the away top is the away top. How many away kits are these sites really going to be selling? So,
that's the thing.
Okay, so Clyde kind of our first, along with Arbroath, kind of, so.
did okay. I think this is the last one. If I've done it right. Yeah, this is the last one. The Mighty Mo. This is going to look like the Italy kind of. They've done a lot of work on the home kit, and then all of a sudden realised they had to make an away kit. The away kit looks like something I'd put in my bed. Like,
okay, right. Describe what we're seeing for the audio listeners quickly.
Right. The away top is not quite a black top. It's kind of an extremely dark grey. It looks like tarmac. That's probably the right kind of colour. I think it has the kind of Hummel sort of not quite
chevrons.
Kind of badge on the sides. The badge looks like it's been done off of tracing paper.
But it's black on black. They have gone to the effort of changing it.
But it's not a black kit. It's like I say, it looks like tarmac.
I think in an actual picture, the photography of it's not great. It'll be kind of black on black. That's what they're going for.
If it's black on black and I see it in person, I'll maybe change my mind. But at the moment, it looks like
you'll see it in person, John. They're in League One.
Nah. It looks like a missing piece of like a kind of pyjama set, like, you know.
But mind, see that Dortmund kit from like, I don't know if it was last season or the season before that was like the black on black is like super rare and expensive now.
1920 kit, yeah. I mean, you're talking like £5,000 or £6,000 if you seriously want that kit.
But this is what they're going for. Can't I blame them?
I'll see what it looks like in person, and as you said, I probably will see it quite a lot.
Home kit is like Denmark kit but blue essentially, so vertical lines into quarters that are kind of fading out. If you look at the Denmark throwback kit, it's kind of like that.
I really like that.
I don't see, for me, sometimes these kits can get a wee bit fussy, and that for me, the home kit is bordering on a wee bit fussy.
You might elaborate on fussy. It's just too much going on for you.
It's confusing because you've basically got those vertical lines, but on the top of the kit, they're much thinner than they are on the bottom of the kit. So on the top of the kit, really thin lines. On the bottom one, they're really thick. So I think that will do well to confuse your opposition, because they won't really know what speed you're travelling at, because they'll be looking at like how quickly the lines are passing by, and the top of your body will appear to be going quicker than the lower half of your body.
Okay, so it's the Doppler effect. Okay.
Yeah, as a physics teacher, John, you've led me right there. It's a sort of a visual perspective.
It's the Big Bang Theory for me.
Yeah.
For me, you're right. I do take that point. I still like it because I think it's a little bit different. I think maybe even the kind of lighting that they've kind of done on the picture probably helps it a little bit. I think
really
if they'd either had all the stripes going from like the whole length of the shot up and then kind of fading at the top, or vice versa all the way down, it probably would have worked a little bit better. But nevertheless, I think it's a fair effort for League One. That's pretty good.
I wonder if you walked into the pub, you're going to get noticed more with the home kit. You're going to blend in a bit more with the away kit, and I think the away kit's a little bit more style orientated because of the black on black. It's a bit more subtle. Right, you're a Montrose fan. You're definitely buying the home kit, aren't you?
I would buy the home kit, and like I say, the away kit. The away kit's the kind of thing. If you go into a bar and it says no football colours, you can wear that kit.
I've never seen anyone wear a Montrose kit, to be brutally honest. Yeah, I quite like the away kit. Just the home kit's a wee bit too fussy for me. Those chevrons aren't even solid blocks, are they? They're also
they look like sort of pinstriped.
Just a wee bit too fussy. For that reason, it's the away kit for me.
They're off. I mean, when they're playing on a really kind of miserable day in Peterhead, they'll blend in. Peterhead will not know where they are. You'll play Montrose win 5-0. They'll think it was shadows. Like
it's the black on black though. It's classy. It's like you're getting the Mac Black car with the black wheels, and like that's the sort of vibe they're going for. And I'm pretty sure there's lots of rollers in Montrose with their matte black Teslas, blacked out wheels. Escalades, G wagons, all that good stuff, and now they're going to have their black away kit to go with it.
Fair play. No, well,
right in. If you're a Montrose fan that has a black on black vehicle to go with your black on black Montrose away kit.
We're sponsored by Narcos shortly.
Well,
But yeah, that is the last one off the slate,
last-
I'm afraid. So I shall try not to break things again.
so our champions for this week, clearly Dundee.
Dundee by a country mile. Yeah.
So we'd go Dundee. Then who do you have in second? Partick or Dundee United?
Oh, I think Dundee United. Just I think that away kit, and yeah, the home kit's actually quite nice as well. So I'd have them second.
On the balance, I would agree. Would you put the Partick away kit above the Dundee United away kit?
No, I'd put the Partick away kit over Dundee United home kit though.
Okay, yeah, okay, I'm with you there. Who's our third place spot? You'd probably put Montrose. So you put Montrose behind Dundee United and behind Partick?
Yes, I think that away kit just does nothing for me.
What about the home kit though? I'm going for the individual rankings.
Yeah, okay, fair enough. So Dundee 1 and 2, Dundee away 3, Partick away 4, Montrose home kit 5, and then the rest just
so on and
is
so
what it is.
Yeah, I would agree. But thank you for that selection. It's nice it's especially nice to see some of the lower league bits and bobs. If you go on, it's quite cool because the Montrose ones I think are sold by a website called Football Nation, and they sell like the Airdrie kits and stuff as well. All of which seem to be like 40 quid. So if you can't be bothered paying the 65 or 70 is the going rate for some of the bigger shirts these days, then look towards your lower league clubs.
That's exactly it. I mean, I was actually pleasantly surprised at the kind of prices that they were kind of flicking through. I mean, I've been through every single club, so I kind of roughly have an idea. You're anywhere between £48 roughly for a Premiership team with the Old Firm. I don't know how much Aberdeen are charging for theirs. I never got that far in. But
probably on the 50 at the moment.
40 to £50 mark for a kind of reasonably sized Premiership team.
Yeah.
Same again into the kind of Championship. Falkirk are inexplicably charging 48 quid for their kits as well. And then it started to kind of drop down a little bit from there. So you're talking maybe into the 40, I think a few of them even for 35. It's interesting as well about the sort of having these almost kind of third parties kind of coming in for sort of looking after some of the smaller clubs. I know Falkirk are looking to partner up with Grieve Sport, who are already looking after, I think, Pollock and Partick Thistle. So when you go on the website, they've got like Grieve Sport and it's got like a couple of kind of bigger teams, and then it's got Partick Thistle and Pollock FC.
Like,
I think who's clicking on that? Like,
that's all well and good, but like I can't even find the Aberdeen home kit on their website.
It's hopeless.
Yeah, my problem with Greaves is they're based in freaking Glasgow. For a start, but it's nice to see that these things are more accessible because, like back in the day, it would have been a nightmare to get hold of. I actually don't think Aberdeen have any of the home kits left at the moment, or they're just not for sale.
I mean, it's quite nice to be fair. But
it's nice up. I actually really like the SPFL like numbering this year is really cool. It's a bit more edgy and square than it has been in the past.
Right.
So the numbering is actually quite smart. But yeah, the fact that I can go online and like, if it takes my fancy, I can go and get like an Airdrie top or something like that. Really cool. And I can only help these clubs, if you're seeing like Ayr United shorts and like Dunfermline kits, all the way down in Woolwich, that's really cool. And it's a much more interesting badge of honour than like a PSG top or a Chapecoense Umbro shirt or something like that. So I'll certainly keep an eye on the Steny ones. Actually, I do like them. So yeah, has anyone ever picked you up in public for wearing like a Falkirk top or something down south before?
No, never. I've had a few funny looks in general, but nothing for what I'm wearing. I get a few for wearing like certainly if I've been in Scotland and stuff, I get funny looks.
Yeah.
I've got like a kind of Scotland polo shirt and a training top, which I try not to wear all that much at the moment. Other than that, no really. I've had a guy, to be fair, I was wearing I've got like a Stuttgart training top that I've battered to pieces, like just kind of like going out and about in. And this guy started talking to me in German. I was like, I have absolutely no idea what you're saying to me. But he thought obviously I was a German football fan.
So you're going to be wearing those Brazilian tops way more often then, aren't you, John?
Yep, absolutely. We'll see where it sticks.
Good luck with that. No, but it brings up an interesting point though, in that I've seen like all over the news this week. They've been back on going to these like football kit places and stuff like that because people are now buying more retro shirts than they are buying like some of the current stuff. Unless you're full like me, listen to previous podcasts for more information on that. But it brought up the fact, like on the back of my Scotland shirt, I'm getting Andy Constantine's name. I'm thinking it's a bit rare, it's quite unique, it's quite quirky, and they kind of go back and they show you like I think a mid '90s England kit with like Gascoigne on the back is now going for like 400-500 quid.
Yep.
So what do you think would be a good pick for this year, John? In terms of like the footballing stock market, if you're going to get a player's name on the back of a shirt, what do you think is going to stick with? Have you ever actually got any printing on any of your shirts before?
No, I hate it.
Okay.
I know that's probably quite. I've got two, and they're both Newcastle tops. I've got one, my very first kind of kit that I kind of bought my own money. I've got like what was the year? Say 14-15. Newcastle top's got like brown 10 on the back, and I got given a Newcastle top again with Brunei 21 for my 21st birthday off all you, a couple of my mates and that.
Yep.
Other than that, I have kind of been gifted, or not, I kind of bought it randomly, was a Schalke top with Rakitic 10 on the back. I think it's match worn and it's been signed by the current Serbia manager. I can't remember his name, who must have been playing for Schalke at the time.
Mm-hmm.
I have that to hand. That was 2006, 2007. But other than that, I think if you get even a player name on the back of it, you're kind of tainting it because you're kind of limiting the amount of people who are actually going to buy it. I mean, there's a lot of them going. You could buy like, what was a really weird one? Because I bought like a Benfica top, which should be arriving sometime this week, and you could get it with some really kind of strange names on the back. And I was like, I don't know who any of these people are, but they were 10 quid more. Like, why? I don't know who they are.
The thing is, right, so see with the hockey jerseys, like I pretty much now can't buy them without a number on the back because it just completely makes the jersey.
It does make the jersey for hockey stuff, absolutely, and it'd be the same for baseball tops, even for NFL. That's the design.
Yeah. For football tops, I kind of, especially now because I suppose they're kind of going after the American sports because they pay hundreds of dollars and things for their jerseys and stuff as well. I like it. I think it's cool for remembering a moment. Like I have an Aberdeen top with a Luco 11 on the back, who then went to play with Rangers. It's kind of like if I got a Mulgrew top kind of earlier down the line. Yeah, I wouldn't be one of these guys like burning them or anything like that, but
you could take it to kind of low levels. I mean, I could have had like Miles Hippolyte on the back of a Falkirk top. And then
my brother had one with Afiez on the back.
Yeah, I mean, the following season he goes and plays for Dunfermline. I no longer can wear that Falkirk top at all to a Falkirk game ever again because it's tainted. I can't do it. Nah, you just leave it blank.
You'd have to be I say you'd have to be unlucky, but quite a lot of Falkirk and Dunfermline players have gone backward and forward.
It's the same. Like, how would you feel like if you all of a sudden found yourself in like an Aberdeen Rangers game, right? And you're wearing your Aberdeen top with a look on the back of it. Like, that would help me.
Great, John, because that gives us common ground to have a chat, and we can all say how brilliant we thought Sonny Aluko was, and how much we each respect each other as football fans.
I'm sure that would go down well at that big fence.
That's exactly what would happen. We'd high five, shake hands, go for beer. It'd be great. Like it's not ideal. It's better that than getting your own name on the. Well, I don't know.
It's kind of 50-50. I think if you get your own name in the back, you are adamant you are keeping that jersey forever. I think for the most part you do anyway.
Yeah, that's true.
A few of mine are speculative investments, so I do keep the tags on a few, but that's just the way my mind works.
I think these. I've kind of come to the decision now that these things are meant to be worn. This shirt can go for I think about £100 these days in reasonable condition, and it is in reasonable condition. But I have no intention of selling it because
exactly.
It's what it is. If the Fly Emirates falls off one day, the Fly Emirates falls off someday. But yeah, so I'm not going to get you an Aberdeen top with brown 8 on the back of that. Then
I wouldn't say no.
It's like the best. Like finally, a lot of people seem to be getting that. Actually, I saw when they're posting on Twitter.
Kind of back to your thing about them. Who would you kind of get? You know, if you look at the kind of Messi and Ronaldo old kits, like the values of them are just going through the roof. You would probably looking at getting Ericsson on the back of a Denmark top. I bet that would be worth a pretty penny.
I could make a really bad joke just now that would be in poor taste, so I won't do that.
Nah, don't do that.
Are you sure? I could do it.
Even I'm partial to those kind of jokes.
Okay. That'd be a good check. Well, like even if you had a really old one with like Loudrup or something on the back, that's you sort of.
No, I mean, I'm sure I tell you the story. My dad has a Scotland top from Spain '82, immaculate condition, medium as well. Medium's always the kind of price point you want. It was like 250 quid as a resale. I was like, are you sure? Because I mean, like, you've won it against the Czech Republic, you won it during the game, and we've lost again. You sure you just don't want to get rid of this pocket of 250 quid?
That's the thing. Like that, see those last few weeks especially, that was the time to shift your Scotland club.
If you want dead stock away, 100%. That was the time.
I think, I'm definitely more of a collector than a trader. I think that's kind of much your sort of side of things as well. So,
I mean, I collect them because I'm not much of a hoarder, but this is like the one thing, that in football scarves, which is probably a topic for another day.
But it's cool because it's
a collection of football scarves.
But that's like it's memories, isn't it? And
I buy a scarf every time I go to a new ground. So unless it's like for a Falkirk game, so I've got scarves from every single stadium I've ever been to, all over the world.
No, I think that's really cool.
That's memory.
I think it ties to a location better than like a postcard or a keyring or like a Polaroid of you drinking some local beer or something like that would. So
tenants outside the San Siro.
Well, yeah, that too. They love tenants export over there. Funny enough.
That was the weirdest experience of my life.
But I suppose it's like us drinking Peroni. Like Peroni to them will just be like tenants to us.
Tenants equivalent is piss water.
Yeah, so it's kind of weird conundrum there. Stephen O'Donnell was saying some stuff this week, you were saying.
Yes, I kind of feeds back into the kind of Euro chat. And I kind of suppose goes back to kind of Pat Nevin's kind of comments as well in his autobiography.
So what you've said there, John, is I've fed this in at completely the wrong time.
Yeah, we've overshot by a long way.
Really,
never mind, it's a laugh. No, Stephen O'Donnell said a bit. I can't work out whether he's having a moan about being criticised, or whether his kind of words have been taken out of context. And I think this probably feeds into like the kind of how the media are perceiving sort of how he's reacted to almost like make him not quite look like a villain, but he's a wee bit against the Tartan Army a little bit. Basically, he says the criticism he received after the Czech Republic game was vastly over the top, and at the same rate, the praise he got after the England game was vastly over the top.
Okay.
So he was like, how can you swing so violently if you wanted the other? He says it's ridiculous, and it affected him sort of mentally and all that kind of thing, which I do get. But it's an interesting point of kind of conversation.
Yeah, I actually think there's a lot to this discussion because of the sort of volatility of the nature of social media these days. But I would definitely say that the comments after that first game definitely, certainly if he's seen them, which he sounds like he has from the comments
he's seen some. There. I think he's tried his best to avoid it. But I mean, how can you when the entire nation is berating you?
But then that gets you pumped. I think if you're a player of a certain mentality, you get psyched up for the next game because you're like, right, that's what you think of me? I'll show you what I can go and do. And he did. And I don't think we really have too many complaints with him in the final game because I thought they all played pretty poorly there.
Pretty poor.
I do think, you have to bear in mind, in what we do on a day-to-day basis. I think we can both reflect on this. John, you can work on phones, taking calls all day. I'm a school teacher, up in front of a classroom of kids. If we are doing badly, we will be told in no uncertain terms that we are not doing a good job. And that often comes with no thought from the person down the other end of that line. be it in whatever. I do think, especially in this day and age, there is a real problem in social media of people not considering the other perspective of things, or just not being able to. Everything's so polarizing these days. Like, I'm 100% right, you're 100% wrong. There's no in between on that. And I think with Stephen O'Donnell, he is a man who is, at the edge of his performance envelope.
100%.
Like everyone was to go out and to struggle in the very first game of an international tournament, which we haven't been in for 20 years, when you've been playing against complete dross the whole season. Like,
it wasn't like he was playing in the English Premier League. Like,
well, at best, there are 3 good teams in the Scottish Premiership. And if you play against St Johnstone in a cup, there are 4. Yep. Beyond that, it is total dross. So this guy in his first game was coming against guys who are playing in the Italian big leagues and the German big leagues. And he's been trying to face down, I'm trying to think who would be a bad, Chris Burke or something like that will be running at him week on week. The
biggest challenge he's probably faced has been, like, ironically enough, Borna Barisic.
Yeah.
Who's been playing for Croatia. Your point's absolutely spot on. I mean, there's 2 things to take for Stephen O'Donnell. He was absolutely pilloried from the first game, and it wasn't his fault. And this is a big point, because he was told to attack, and he doesn't do attacking. Like, that's just not his game. That's why he looked so good against England, because he had to defend, and he is really, really good at that kind of side of his game. And again, he looked a little bit kind of shaky in the final game, because again, he was expected to attack. So it's really difficult to criticise a guy who's doing a job he's not set out to do. Like, in how that's just so counterintuitive. You've got to criticise the guy who's put him there in the first place. Like,
I think
that sticks in the throat.
He's the one that's there as well. People are saying these things. They're not the people who are starting for Scotland in an international tournament.
He's never turned it down, and he rose up to it, and he still took it. Like,
I also think that invalidates most of our opinions that we use in this podcast, because we are not professional footballers, and therefore, our words are kind of meaningless. And it's that sort of thing where, people are very edgy in their thoughts sometimes. And I think, for example, John, you yourself have said things to Falkirk Football Club that you perhaps regret now. Would that be a fair thing to say?
From a distance,
I'm recalling some pretty strongly worded tweets towards the end of last season.
Some of it was merited, though. I mean, this is the thing. I mean,
but hold on.
None of them were personal. Right.
Can I bring up your Twitter account?
Formed an entity.
But then who are you targeting those thoughts at, though?
It's formed an entity. Like, that's the difference.
But then it's never going to get through in that sense. And that's the thing that always confused me. Like, in my time working for football clubs, it was always so frustrating to see all these media people work really hard to put out highlights, to put out interviews and stuff like that would then just get rafts of dislike and anger on social media, which had nothing to do with the product they were producing, but had everything to do with the product on the park. And the nature of football as a de-stressor in particular is you essentially pay a fee of money to shout at some young lad for 90 minutes, be it good or bad. And that's just, I think it comes with being a professional footballer. Some of it,
some of it is, you can probably put it down to being that is an occupational hazard. I mean, to a lesser extent, I get on a daily basis out of my job. I mean, I deal with this current old. I would lose my job if I spoke my mind. But I expect that it does a lot of damage to me, and it has done a lot of damage to me over the last kind of couple of months. But you expect it. I mean, you would never kind of go into the job not doing it. I mean, if you're a linesman, there's no way you've existed in football to not know that a linesman is going to get absolute dogs abuse for 90 minutes. Same with a referee. They do it, and they're a special breed. And they must have some kind of mentality to think this is okay, or like I can deal with this. I'd be amazed to kind of know what it is at the end of the day. Maybe.
Oh, John?
Well, you're back. I'm back. You froze as well.
Yeah, temporarily lost during that mid-rant there. But yeah, that's the thing. If you are a footballer, you are incredibly fortunate to be doing what others dream of doing. And you do need to be aware that you are going to get some stick. I think if people are giving you stick about your performance, whatever, that's fine. They are paying punters. It's what they're there to do. I think there are ways and means to do it. I don't think, obviously, things like death threats are acceptable. Racist abuse are not acceptable. You don't deserve to live and things like that. Again, not acceptable. Again, even it's fine shouting at someone on the day like you're not playing well. I think after the fact, tweeting someone like that, it's personally not what I would do. But for example, so see the stuff with Naomi Osaka recently, the tennis player.
Nah, I'm not a big tennis fan, so
yeah, there's a minor tournament going on, not that far from you at the moment, John.
Is that one of the weather's nice? Is it like...
Well, there you go. Rainy up here, but she recently has refused to do press interviews and stuff like that because of the negative impact on her mental health. Yeah. Well, but it's part of the job,
Do you say that? Her profession is to be a tennis player, not to be a PR individual.
Yeah, but I'm sorry, John. Who pays the bills for these tournaments?
Some of the sponsors, but what is the sponsor getting out of her doing an interview? Realistically,
it's not just the sponsors; it's the television companies who are needing to show. That's what we're all tuned in for. Like, if you have a bad match, I want to know what you thought of
that. I take that point. If the commentators and pundits were asking appropriate questions rather than what did you think of the game and just like shoving the mic in front of their faces, like that's irrelevant. It tells me nothing. I've already watched it. I know. I've made my own opinion on that. Like, if they were actually informative and they asked sort of meaningful questions, particularly after the game, I don't want to watch an instant reaction from a footballer like immediately after the game. I don't want to hear the immediate thoughts of a manager because they're not going to give you a true reflection on the game. Like, I've never been a big fan of that either. There's a time and a place to have those kind of conversations and to do those kind of interviews and have those kind of media sort of presences. Just after a game, just before a game, it's not appropriate. Like, because fundamentally you're there to do your job. Like, you're there to play football, you're there to play tennis, and you have to be in that mindset. Forget about everything else.
Like, oh yeah, you have to be focused on it at the time. I do think it's part of the job, and if you're getting paid hundreds of thousands, if not millions, then I do think you have to deal with that. And I don't know. I've seen some football interviews that have been particularly antagonistic sometimes, and they are looking for the comment. But you have to handle that. Yeah, but
they come in they've got the wee fishing rod. They're just ready to kind of wind these guys in. I don't like that. I mean, it doesn't tell you anything.
It's part of the game. It's part of the drama. It's part of the sports. You have to deal with it. What does wind me up is, have you seen these BT adverts about this Love Football Club or something? It's this campaign to stop like online abuse and stuff like that.
Oh God, I know what you mean though.
The big black
it's Hope United, I think it's called.
There you go.
Yeah.
What on earth is that going to achieve? Like, if you are a punter sat behind your keyboard dishing out all the worst abuse of the day, that's not going to turn your thoughts process around. Personally, the only thing that is going to affect these people is if they're just banned from all these social media platforms, which is impossible technically.
It goes both ways. Would you not agree though? Like, if it were me, and I know it'd be really, because I'm not in that position, obviously, not that famous. Would you not?
198 subscribers on YouTube with hundreds of audio listeners a week.
But would you not just turn off your social media? Like, I know that sounds very basic and probably crass, and the people in that position are going, obviously that's a solution. But is that the simplistic thing? Is that if you have, like what they kind of did, I mean, for 24 hours, and even then some outlets were still posting, they had their media blackout for 24 hours. If you did that over a consistent period, that strikes the social media platforms into doing something about it, because their revenue is immediately doing the tubes.
That's true.
And that's how you put pressure on these guys to start actually investigating reports of racial abuse, homophobic abuse, and all that kind of thing. It kind of comes both ways a little bit. So I think they need to get themselves a bit more organised in that front to start putting pressure on the social media platforms, because they're not going to do it off their own back. Why would they? It costs money. Like,
I mean, the thing is,
they have a duty of care, but at the same rate, I mean, they are just so corporate, and like,
yeah,
they don't have a face. They're just an entity, so they don't
oh,
care. Like,
it's not in their best interest to almost or stop
I,
these things. And this is a problem that's existed forever in the existence of sport. You've seen, we still have a massive problem with sectarian chants and stuff like that.
But I think that because there wasn't a social media presence anymore, I mean, that brings everything into light, so everyone has a say and everyone can get their voice out there. If you take social media out of the equation, you go back to, you take abuse for 90 minutes inside a stadium. If you see in the street, some mindless idiot will give you some abuse, and then that's about it. That's your interaction, because like they're not going to phone you up. Maybe one or two of them will write you very angry letters and sort of illegible kind of handwriting.
Faxes,
just 40 days for it to kind of come through, and by that point you've already moved club. Like,
yeah, that's the thing. I think
social media is just a fuel to the fire. Like,
but the problem is, I do understand. Like a lot of them, I'll need it these days from it's like part of the
it's
part of the machine. Yeah, exactly.
Ronaldo gets 1.5 million for every Instagram post he makes.
There you go.
1.5 million.
Oh, can I just say, really bugs me the debate of Lionel Messi is a better footballer than Cristiano Ronaldo, right?
Ronaldo's a better player. Sorry, Darren, but he is.
Can I just say, who's going to be the better goalie? Ronaldo.
What? Were you the power cut? I
don't think so. But my light just flickers on and off, so if there's a fire that occurs at any point over there, then happy days. So that bugs me in that debate because Messi wouldn't be as good a goalkeeper. But
so what you say is you don't want it on your fives team?
Yeah, pretty much. There you go. Well, we'll come back to that on a later date. But yeah, it's a really good point. I know that like Craig Fowler and the Terrace recently just said there's no point in blocking people, but if you mute them, then happy days. It's not really a problem. Like, they don't get the satisfaction of getting blocked and like retweeting about it and things like that. You just don't see it anymore. And for a lot of these people, it'll be an insecurity thing. And I get that, but yeah, a public figure, it's about dealing with it and just ignoring it and, just keep doing your thing because you're in the position that you're in. And fair dues if you're like a 19-year-old footballer about to lose his footballing career. But a lot of these people are very successful, paid vast amounts of money, and very good at what they do. So you just have to believe in what you do. And Stephen O'Donnell, I think, actually did use it positively. So
I think the content of his comments is spot on. Yeah. I think it's just the media trying to kind of make a bit more of a story, manufacture a bit of a story out of this when there isn't really one there. He got criticised, it was a bit over the top. He was praised, it was a little bit over the top. Third game, like you say, everyone was rubbish. So
I think move on. Traditional media is in a really interesting place because you kind of touched on it there. Like, do you give one iota of care about what Jermaine Janus thinks?
No, he's not a horrible pundit, but
But do you care what he has to say about during that match? Do you care? Do you care about what Sean McGuigan has to say about the Wraith Rovers game at the weekend?
Yes.
I honestly think we're at a point now, especially with this sort of platform here. I've seen a lot of Americans talk about it in particular, in that nobody's really watching their traditional. Like in America, you've got all those breakfast, like NFL breakfast and stuff like that shows. And people are now going more and more towards like podcast networks. They're going towards like YouTubes, and I think we're seeing that big shift as well. So that whatever these people say is becoming less and less relevant, and everyone's now getting this platform to share their voice. So just need to make sure it's for good rather than bad, and hopefully that's what Sofa Manager does. Thumbs up. That was the bleakest thing ever. Yeah.
As it gets darker and darker, like
as my light is literally flickering on the budget we have. Anyway, I think that'll about round us off for this week. Then, will it?
I'm sure we'll get the kind of no comments. I can't remember if it was someone on the Terrace or if it was someone on another kind of radio show. Is if people are commenting and giving you abuse, it means they're listening to your content, and that's a positive.
There you go.
We are awaiting the abuse and comments to appear.
I used to get it all the time on the Instagram account from Rangers fans, and my response to it at the time was bye-bye. And if you don't like what we say, you don't have to listen to us, and if you don't like what someone else says, you don't have to look at them, or just have a productive debate. Hello, Stephen O'Donnell. My name is Paul. I am a distinctly mediocre footballer who could have made it if I was given the opportunity at a performance school earlier in my career. But that's by the by. I don't think you played particularly well against the Czech Republic. Response: I disagree with you, Paul. I thought I played very well. Fair play, Stephen. Thank you for allowing me this cordial debate. Good luck against England. Happy days. We're all happy. And that brings us back to the Rangers interaction with our Aluko shirts earlier as well. So if anyone has one, do send a picture to me. We can meet up for a cordial discussion.
Socially distant.
Socially distanced, of course. Of course. It has to be added. Anyway, if you have enjoyed this week's podcast, or you do have something to say, because there is a lot to comment on this week, please stick a comment below. I'm sure myself and John will be down there to get the discussion going. And again, subscribe to us on whatever platform you are listening. Give us a like and follow us on social media, Instagram, Facebook and Twitter, to keep up with all our latest misgivings. But I shall say a massive thank you to John.
Thanks, Paul. All the best.
And it'll be a good evening, a good afternoon, and a good morning from me. Goodbye.
Bye.